Okay, so you want to understand the actions in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Okay, we can do that. The best way to do that, I think, is to go back to history. History repeats itself. Let's have a look at San Francisco, 1906. We're going to jump around a little bit. For the most part, we're going to follow a local news station's pretty good documentary. Now, I say it's pretty good just in the production quality of it and the way that it carries the narrative, which it has to, but the way that it does it, you can tell that they are just emphasizing certain things that put a little bit of a twist to it to make you wonder. It leaves you with the feeling that many of you may have had before having the realizations that you probably came to, most of us came to in the past, 5 years or so, in this spell-breaking dispelling of the overall narrative of things. And so what I'm going to do now is I'll play some clips. We'll go through this and hopefully make sense of some things. We'll just play these clips and then I'll do the commentary. Mostly it'll be my commentary, okay?
San Francisco's first fatalities. Become the wealthiest.
The city always successfully hid their problems and rebuilt.
The money kept flowing. The city kept growing. San Francisco had become the wealthiest city per capita.
So I want you to look at this. Look at those windows. Pay attention to this. All the way through this presentation, I'm going to show you what is going on. What's going on in the Ukraine-Russia conflict and what was going on in San Francisco at the time. Look at the architecture. It is fantastic, magnificent architecture. If you look at those windows, are those like the windows on your house? No. Oh, no, they're not. Who's the windows? Who would those windows be for? Let's say you were 18 feet tall. Then those windows would be appropriate. Okay. But you could say, oh, well, that's the first floor of a major building. Okay. They don't really build buildings like that anymore, but at the time, maybe. Okay. But what about the second floor, third floor? What about the interior doors and windows? Why would they be so big? Okay, we'll just pay attention to that as we go along. Let's go.
Carpenters, bricklayers, waiters, and bartenders earned the highest wages in the nation. The city's freewheeling spirit fueled an explosion.
They do this thing where they make sure that you know that the city was a place of iniquity and debauchery. And that will play a large part in this presentation as well. So that justifies, I'm sure that's going on perhaps among the troops who are assigned with the task of destroying the architecture in Ukraine, that these areas they're emptied out anyway because the people evacuated, and it's just a place of iniquity and debauchery, and it might as well go. The things that happened here, or da-da-da-da. It doesn't have to be true, but yeah. A lot of these photographs are absolutely fake, and towards the end I will show you the evidence for that. But just keep it in mind as we go along that many of these photographs are completely fake, and a big clue would be the vanilla skies, although this one you can kind of see clouds a little bit. But you can see the second floor is every bit as upsized as the first floor. It was for taller people, you know. Okay, so then the earthquake happens. So they have this dramatization. And I skipped all the stuff about how the population went up so much, supposedly, through the minor 1849ers, and there's gold in them there hills. That was a big old cooked up thing about getting people out west. Gold! And financially they can do that. They can, just like how they print the money today, they can create the wealth out of nowhere, ex nihilo, because it is in coins and things that just can be dumped off and created. So they had a mint, so they could mint a bunch of coins, and so there you go. Oh, wow. And so now they have the earthquake, and let's listen to this little tale and look at the silly dramatization of it as it happens. Here, let's go. The guy's got his wife beater shirt on. And they were all asleep, supposedly, right? Now look at this. Okay, see, they're pulling that building down. You see the wires? Check it out. Let's go back. See the wires? They're pulling it down. There ain't no earthquake, but look at the window. It's so huge, isn't it? And they're pulling the building down. Oh, there's that white smoke, so reminiscent of September 2001. Here again. See the wires? See the wire attached to that little balcony thing? They're going to pull it. Just like Larry Silverstein said. He wasn't talking about his Chinese massage happy ending when he said, pull it. He was talking about Building 7. So just like the Larry Silverstein of the time in San Francisco, pull it, pull it. That's what they were doing. Blurry.
125 miles north of San Francisco. The Point Arena Lighthouse, 110 feet high, cracked like a whip, shattering the massive lantern which had withstood near gale force
winds. Well, okay, but look at that. 120 some miles away, and look. Oh, now the house. Look at the house there, and then here. Oh, well, the little water tower next to it's fine. Everything else is fine. Oh, do you think they pulled that down with their pull it, Larry Silverstein style? Pull it.
Lantern which had withstood near gale force winds.
Yeah.
Shockwaves tore through Mendocino and Sonoma counties, slamming buildings from their foundations.
But not the utility poles, just the buildings. And look, oh, the streets are clear, and I'll explain that later, because that's been a question. Why are the streets always clear in the Hiroshima, Nagasaki photos and all these different things and the California fires? Oh, the streets are always clear. Well, I'll explain that.
A wooden bridge like a giant toothpick.
Yeah, all those tall architecture buildings. Not every building, just certain ones. Most of them. Oh, fenced off areas, okay.
Starting landslides, snapping off giant redwood trees.
Yeah, right. Okay. And so you look at this photo. Okay. So what's going on? Why are the streets so clear? I'll tell you why. An earthquake did not demolish to the ground certain buildings and leave other ones untouched. We've seen it so many times. It's bulldozers, folks. Bulldozers. When you're running bulldozers and pulling buildings down and wrecking them and driving over them and demolishing them and smashing them to bits, they keep the streets clear so they can move their bulldozers around, and they have the front loaders on their bulldozers, and so it's easy to push that stuff around. Besides, when they pull it down and knock it down, they're not going to strew it around in the street that they have to drive through, so they just leave it. That's why it is that way. That Hiroshima, Nagasaki, all these photos, Paradise, California, all the streets are always clear in every photo. Well, that's why. Because it's bulldozers. It's not some magic or high tech necessarily. In that case, it's just bulldozers. And they had them back then. They were called steam shovels.
And then north, frightening horses and citizens in Portland, Oregon. The rip tore through the center of banana-shaped Tomales Bay, moving the western leg 18 feet further north.
Yeah. All right. So the streets are all clear. Where the streets have no name. Well, they had maybe had a name, but they were all where the streets are all clear. The utility poles unscathed, untouched. Sometimes they make them all lean. It's a lot of Photoshop. Again, an earthquake would affect everything. It doesn't affect everything in these photos. Was there an earthquake? There probably was. They were probably waiting for just something, and then when they, okay, this is it, boys, you know, when the earthquake happens, and they do it. They were ready. It was, you'll see.
At Point Reyes, 30 miles north of San Francisco, in the dim light of daybreak, a railroad fireman prepared his engine for the commute into San Francisco. The tremor tossed the engine and 4 cars into the air, where it landed in a poppy field. As the shockwaves tore toward San Francisco.
In a poppy field. Why were they growing poppies? Anyway. Because some things get better, some things get worse. Back then, you could buy opioid painkillers, and they didn't have the spooky taboos about it. Now you can get a surgery, and they will prescribe you Tylenol for your pain after surgery. Holy crap.
Francisco, military prisoners on Alcatraz slept undisturbed on the solid rock.
How does that make sense? If it's a real earthquake, wouldn't it carry through the solid rock just as much as anything else? I mean, especially the solid rock. Doesn't an earthquake shake everything? Whatever.
People walking home after an evening of post-Caruso festivities heard a deep rumble as the earth began to tremble beneath them. Hundreds were knocked to the ground.
I feel the earth
as if pinned by a giant hand.
That's like Star Trek, the giant hand. I feel the earth move under my feet. I feel the sky tumbling down, tumbling down.
Buildings swayed in circles like drunken hula dancers.
Certain buildings, not everyone.
Trolley tracks and cable car slots twisted like putty.
Oh, did they? Did they? Really? Just the trolley carts and cable tracks, but not the train tracks. You'll see later, because the trains were operating to evacuate people out. Just the trolley tracks got affected and shifted. Oh, now, whenever I see this, it's a straight line through one part of the street. Do you know why? Oh, it's a fault line. Nope. Forget about fault lines. It's not the fault line. It's nobody's fault. Well, it is somebody's fault, but it's not a fault line. That's an underground river. That's an underground tunnel. That's a place where they detonated and demolished and wasted away and eroded and collapsed underneath. And that's what shifted and moved and wrecked that part of the street, if it's even a real photo, which isn't necessarily true.
Like putty. Electric lines snapped and hissed, flashing blue and white sparks against the blue-gray dawn.
Really? Because if they were telegraph lines, like we're told, telegraph, then they wouldn't. But I guess they did have electric arc lamps and things like that. But what were they running? Were they running 240 volts or 120 volts or what? I thought a lot of that was supposed to be telegraph, but anyway.
Against the blue-gray dawn. An avalanche of brick and stone facades tumbled to the ground.
Because
the sound was deafening.
You can see the wires again, where they're pulling. See the wire right there?
The sound.
Right there is the wire. Let's play it. See it shaking?
In the produce district, men and horses were buried beneath falling rubble.
Really? Were they really? Okay, so when did it happen? I skipped the part, but it was around 5 a.m. 5 a.m. So at 5 a.m. they had all these horses out, and all the bricks fell down and killed the horses. Did they really? Because the bricks wouldn't fall sideways, so how did it happen? I mean, look, the building on the right, there are no bricks. Give me a break.
Beneath falling rubble. In the Mission District, Mexican vaqueros and the steers they were herding to the slaughterhouse were knocked
at 5 a.m. Yeah.
In the congested tenements and boarding houses south of Market Street, roofs and floors collapsed, trapping thousands.
Really? Because the earthquake lasted, they said, 53 seconds at around 5-something a.m. Oops. Was that the end? No.
Boarding houses south of Market Street, roofs and floors collapsed.
Roofs, not roofs, I think. I don't know, English. Yeah.
Along the high-rises in the broad Market Street corridor, the air was split by the metallic shriek of steel girders twisting and straining against each other.
Like that. Let's dramatize it. All right. Boy, that's some heavy machinery there, boys and girls. What, the steel girders? What, did they have a steel town over there already? Ye olde ladderline. There it is. You guys have waited a long time for that. Ye olde ladderline. Oh, 2 of them, too. I mean, couldn't just... here's another ladder leaning. You can climb down. We'll just leave it there and put on your Sunday best.
Yeah.
The rip tore south through the San Francisco Peninsula.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can't be an underground river or anything,
At
no.
majestic Stanford University, it reduced 14 buildings to dust,
Really?
killing 2 inhabitants.
I mean, look at the thickness of those walls. An earthquake did that? Look at the thickness of those railings and everything. And the stairway got broken up. I mean, come on. Come on. But pay attention to the doorway and window heights. Ooh, were those made for people of a normal stature? I think not. But look at the thickness of that. When did they make all those bricks? And the earthquake did that much damage there, but you look at other places and there's no sign of it?
Directly in the Temblor's path lay San Jose. Block after block of brick and adobe buildings tumbled to the ground.
Adobe. Oh, they just pulled... See, they pulled it. They attached and pulled the facade from that one place and not anywhere else. The windows aren't broken. There's no sign of any cracks, nothing in other places. They just pulled the building down in that one place because look at the people in the front. They didn't build that stuff. The doorways are too high and the inside and everywhere. It's old world. They just want to get rid of it. Electric arc lamps. Unique theater, huh? Pull the front out. There's
Agnew's State Insane.
ye oldie ladder lane. Look at those big old ladders. Did they need all that? You can see it's undamaged other than the places where they've already pulled it down. The floors are built so high and the ground level is off. It's discovered, look at that, it has a metal roof. Oh, the earthquake shook off the metal panels off the roof, the modern roof that is better than the asphalt shingles of today. Yeah.
State Insane Asylum was slammed. Over 100 people were killed.
So they had an insane asylum there in 1906 when the place was populated just 50 years earlier. So they brought over insane people and so many of them. I mean, come on. Yeah, right. Look at the place. Where's the earthquake damage? Oh. Just certain spots where they dynamited it. Look at the size of the buildings. It's always the same. It's always the same story. It's the size of the buildings. Yep. All the way through. Look at this.
275 miles from its northernmost victim at Point Arena. For a long moment, silence lingered throughout San Francisco, save for the frenetic clanging of church bells, as though signaling the city's impending doom.
Really? Oh, really?
The entire event had lasted 53 seconds.
53 seconds. Ding dong, ding dong. Totally orchestrated. All right. Look at these majestic places. Now they burned that inside out and they still couldn't wreck it all. It's got electric lights. Look at the floors, the heights of it. And then the buildings, you notice the ones that are left unscathed for the most part. It's funny how the earthquake only affects the facade, the facing at the street level, where you could have a bulldozer pull with a cable. You could pull the front facing down. The earthquake doesn't so much as crack anything inside. It doesn't knock any clocks or picture frames off the walls. It doesn't break any windows or anything like that. It just affects the street side facing of the buildings where people look like midgets walking around in there, and they have to take, more stairs to go to the second floor. They got to go up like 1.5 floors to go to the next floor each time. Look at that. Look at those columns and everything. My gosh. Where's all this rubble from? I mean, and there's nothing cracked, nothing broken on the walls and everything. They just either photoshopped in, whatever these, the rubble. Like, where's all this rubble come from? Did it fall down from the ceiling? I don't think so. And the way these pictures are with the vanilla skies, then everything's in focus. It's highly suspect. Things are out of scale, out of proportion all over. And what are these people doing? What are they doing? Oh, I'm going to use a shovel. I'm going to shovel up this heavy brick. I'm going to put it up from this pile over in this pile. Meanwhile, there are people on the other side, and they're taking shovels, and they're shoveling that, and they're putting it back in the other pile where the one guy was just shoveling the brick from over there. And they go back and forth like that. Meanwhile, these guys in the fancy suits with the bigger hats are going around, oh, I'm supervising, or you're shoveling, da, 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 da. And you look at the trolley tracks there, and they're not bent or anything like that. Oh, the men with shovels are shoveling and are cleaning it up. Blah, blah, blah. No. How did the bricks fall all the way into that street? Look on the left here. Look at those lanterns. Those are lights, folks. Those are the lanterns on tops of the buildings that I've been talking about this whole time. And again, all these facades, all these buildings, this is how you can understand what's going on in the Ukraine right now in the architecture. The heights of those windows, the heights of the doors on the insides, they were old world. They're built for other people. Now, the doctoring on this photo is a little bit ridiculous. The rubble in the streets, where did it come from? Give me a break. Not buying it. Where the rubble flew sideways and evenly spread itself out everywhere. All those bricks are everywhere. Yeah. What happened here? Boats on water, and the earthquake made the boat fall over in the water? Like, well, okay. Meh. And here, oh, the guy's got a wheeled cart. How are you wheeling it around on top of bricks? What are they doing? Driving over the bricks. What are the bricks doing there? And it's yeah.
Little did they know the worst was about to begin.
Oh, little did they know.
The one man best prepared to defend the city, Fire Chief Dennis Sullivan, the man who had prepared his entire life for that moment, was among the earthquake's first victims.
Dennis Sullivan, he had significant injuries that he sustained when an ornamental piece from the California Hotel crashed through his dwelling.
A steeple from the California Hotel next door cut Dennis Sullivan's fire station in half.
It's like Flash Gordon with the the point on the spaceship that pierces Ming. Give me a break.
Chasm that lay before him, and skull, several percent of his body.
So the one man, the one man who could have saved them from fire, was tragically skewered by a steeple that flew across town and pierced him through his chest. Well, no, they say it fell and it cut the fire station in half, and he sprung to his feet to go fight the fire, and when he stepped forward, he fell into the chasm and fell all the way down to the basement and crushed his mortally wounded body and dashed it apart.
I believe the loss of Dennis Sullivan immediately after the earthquake, the leader that everyone looked to. It was a tremendous loss for the fire department. And
So they knew what to do, but when they found out Dennis Sullivan was mortally wounded, then they just went, I don't know how to fight fires anymore.
The city as a whole.
Now, with Dennis Sullivan mortally wounded, control fell to a man with no understanding and no interest in disaster preparation or management, Mayor Eugene Schmitz.
Because that's how mayors are elected. Okay, qualifications. What is your interest in disaster management and disaster preparedness? I have no interest in it. Great. What is your experience in handling crisis situations? I have no experience and I'm incompetent. Fantastic. We want to put you forth for our party as the candidate for mayor, and then people look around, they see that, and they elect him because that's what they wanted.
When Mayor Schmitz arrived at City Hall, only then did he realize the magnitude of the disaster.
Wait, wasn't he right there when it happened? Wouldn't it have shaken his timbers? Wouldn't it have shivered his timbers? Shiver me timbers. No, it didn't.
Schmitz would soon abdicate authority to another man, Brigadier General Frederick Funston.
Frederick Funston sent a messenger to the
Brigadier General of what?
Presidio to order Colonel Morris, the duty officer, to muster his troops into the city. Morris refused. He told the messenger, tell Funston to look up his army regulations. Only the President of the United States and the governor could order federal troops into a city. Funston did it anyway.
Everyone was well-intentioned, but there were inexperienced people basically doing things that only added to the confusion and to the chaos.
So right away, federal troops came in. They were ready to go, and they were dispatched. Oh.
And to the fires. From my research, there was about 52 fires that broke out just after the earthquake.
Fires started immediately. The chimneys went down. The fires started.
Yeah, that lady. If the chimneys went down, because at 5 a.m. they were burning fires in the chimneys, and the brick chimneys started the fire. No, they didn't. Look at this lady. What's going on there? Like, is she going to a Halloween zombie costume contest or what? Anyway.
The fires started in those chimneys.
Yeah.
Schmitz drove in a Pierce Arrow automobile.
What a sweet old lady. She's going to crochet, and the fire started in those chimneys. I'm going to pet my cat, and I'm going to crochet, and I'm going to tell you the truth about this story. No, that's not the truth.
Toward North Beach to establish a command post at the Hall of Justice. A nightmare scene unfolded around the city. The moans and shrieks of wounded could be heard as rescuers clawed through shattered buildings to reach them.
Yeah. You can see the
Mayor
cables.
Schmitz counted a dozen plumes of smoke, mostly from the congested tenement district south of Market Street.
Mayor Schmitz, what are we going to do? Just a minute. A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I count a dozen plumes of smoke. Write it down. Okay, sir.
When he arrived at the Hall of Justice, scores of people were already gathered, pleading for help in rescuing their
From
loved ones.
Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and whoever, Aquaman, and all the DC characters at the Hall of Justice.
At the Hall of Justice, Mayor Schmitz issued several orders that would prove catastrophic.
Kill.
Decisions that haunt San Francisco's history
Loot.
to this day.
Crime. So you read this. The federal troops, the members of the regular police force, and all special police officers, what are those, have been authorized to kill me. No, by me to kill any and all persons found engaged in capital L looting or in the commission of any capital O other capital C crime. What is this? Does this guy go to school? He doesn't know his capital letters? The capital letters must be like phony or something means phony. I've directed the gas and electric lighting companies not to turn on gas or electricity until I order them to do so. You may therefore expect the city to remain in darkness for an indefinite time. I request all citizens to remain at home from darkness until daylight, every night until order is restored. Well, what made them think there was any disorder in the first place? Nothing. It was planned.
Soldiers were deployed, virtually all of them without oversight or a chain of command.
Wait. Hold up. Is not the military structure exactly and perfectly and completely without fail designed from the bottom to the top with a very clear hierarchical order established where there is rank, and it is, if it's not clear, they have uniforms in which their rank is displayed on their sleeves by chevrons on their shoulder boards, and they have lapel pins. Even their hats bespeak the rank. The very mannerisms of them and the fact that they would know each other, having trained and boarded, and the way that they sit for meals in the mess hall has to do with their rank. They are very organized by rank. So what is he even talking about?
Sight or a chain of command.
They're
They
absolutely.
forgot the law part when they imposed order.
When they imposed martial law, they forgot the law part. They didn't forget it. They didn't intend for it.
There were hundreds of soldiers who got drunk on the job, looted stores, shot innocent people.
Okay, so if I got drunk on any job, I wouldn't loot or shoot innocent. Makes sense.
To looters.
Mayor Schmidt soon decided to enlist 1,000 special police
What?
to help the soldiers and regular police forces.
Wait. Where did these people, what are special police? Where did they come from? How are they qualified? How did he find them? How did he, quote, enlist them? What the heck is going on there, if not something already planned? But whatever.
There are several very well-known cases of innocent people being shot. There was a story of a man coming out of his house with a chicken in his hand, and a soldier shot him in the back and killed him.
Oh, yeah, the chicken in one hand, egg in another.
He worked for the Red Cross
man.
to ferry victims from disaster sites to hospitals. He drove through a military cordon with a Red Cross flag on the back, very large, prominently displayed, shot and killed a guy who was a legitimate hero.
Oh, so the Red Cross guy shot and killed? No. They're saying the Red Cross guy got shot. Nothing ever happened to the person who did it, whatever. It's such of a story. Oh, they told that tale, and people are like, oh, well, when they cordon off an area, I'm certainly not going to go through there, because did you hear they shot a Red Cross? A Red Cross, Jesus carrying a body, and they just shot him in the head, shot him from behind. And then they spit on him and kicked him, and that makes sense.
Firefighters were working under near impossible conditions.
Yeah.
The fire department had their communication system on Waverly Place, right across the street from the Hall of Justice in Chinatown.
Across the city, firefighters had to chop their way out of their firehouses.
Really?
2 of the 3 main water lines from the Spring Valley Water Company had ruptured.
Really? Did they dig the hole first and then rupture it? So how did they rupture? Was it a fault line going through? Where's the fault line in the area around the hole that they dug? Oh, they must have filled it in with the backfill from the hole that they dug. Oh, look. When they dug the hole there to find where it ruptured, where it must have leaked out, must have washed away all that stuff. No, I don't see any evidence of water erosion. So, could it be that they dug the hole out, busted and made the so-called rupture, And before they did so, they shut the water off already. And then over time, then they finally took the picture, which is probably fake because the skies are vanillaed out. And you look at the rupture and the material, like the pipe is kind of overlapping itself. How did that rupture happen? It doesn't look like a clean break or it would fit back together. Something's way off there as well. How did they find the exact spot where it ruptured? Oh man, lots of questions. What?
Beneath the city's broken streets, hundreds of other water lines lay twisted and useless.
Now, in this photo, you can see the brick arch tunnel underneath where they would have had probably the pneumatic, the pneumatic delivery systems that they used to have down there. It could have been that, or it could have been like drain water.
Hundreds of other water lines lay twisted and useless.
How many ways can you torture a great fire department? First, the worst earthquake in American history. Then you take their leader, shatter their firehouses, scatter their
You take their leader. Who's you? And yeah.
horses, start 52 fires in a matter of a few minutes.
Wait, what happened to their horses?
In a matter of start 52 fires in a matter of a few.
Wait.
Scatter their horses.
How did the horses get scattered? I thought the firemen had to claw and hammer and hack and axe their way out of the firehouse because it was barricaded in by all the bricks that fell down from everywhere across the street and fell against. But the horses got out, but the firemen couldn't. Or the firemen got out and then their horses were right behind them. They're like, see ya! And they ran off. Your barn door's open, feller.
Start 52 fires in a matter of a few minutes, and then take away the complete water supply. So what does the San Francisco Fire Department do? They fight back.
As fires quickly spread,
yeah, they fought back.
Chief John Dougherty. Dougherty is 68 years old. But with Sullivan gone, Schmitz makes the most momentous decision of the entire disaster. Dynamite. And lots of it.
Dynamite.
The Palace
Dynamite.
Hotel, Enrico Caruso had survived. The palace had undulated in a giant circle, but its thick walls and tons of iron reinforcing bands had performed perfectly. He walked several blocks.
And the potted plants didn't fall off anything. Nothing's out of place. Not any window broke or anything.
Performed perfectly.
Yeah.
He walked several blocks to the St. Francis Hotel, where he ate a sumptuous breakfast, muttering, "Hell of a place. I never sing it again."
How'd they cook the sumptuous breakfast when there's no water, there's no electricity, there's no gas? Oh, they must have just cooked that sumptuous breakfast with some kindling and like a wood-fired oven. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Near the famed Mission Dolores, the 4-story Valencia Street Hotel had sunk into an old...
Yeah, no, it didn't sink into anything. Look at this. This is what I'm talking about. Everything else in the street's fine, and in this one little area, things sink down. Oh, if it's even a true photo, wouldn't it be like there's a tunnel that is going across? In fact, to me, that looks like they put that in there where the street is, because it looks like there would be an alleyway or a street there. Just the Valencia Hotel is leaning. The utility poles aren't knocked around. Yeah. And why are the utility poles so maximized already? I mean, wouldn't they have just been getting going on, like they didn't have like telephone lines much? They maybe had telegraph and electricity, but
Dolores, the 4-story Valencia Street Hotel.
That's not 4 stories.
An old...
That wasn't 4 stories. Psh, whatever. Get your story straight, guys.
He walked several blocks to the St. Francis Hotel, where he ate sing it again. Near the famed Mission Dolores Street Hotel had sunk into an old creek.
Looks like a fake lettering.
A ruptured water main helped turn the soil beneath it to mush.
Ah,
More than 40 people.
See So, okay. This is what I'm saying, that they did probably wreck some things with some underground stuff, maybe detonating or just using water to wash away underneath. That makes what looks like a fault line, like an underground river can do that.
More than 40 people drowned. 45 miles north,
I thought there wasn't any water.
Rosa was being ravished by fire. 45 miles south at Agnew State Hospital.
Did he say ravished or ravaged? Because there's a difference. Ravaged by fire would be like destroyed, but ravished is like being hit with some amorous affection to the point of being overtaken by that affection, being ravished.
Escaped mental patients run about the hospital's grounds, naked and hysterical.
Wait.
Sheriffs.
Why would they have been naked? And I'll tell you what, escaped. I mean, just because there's an earthquake, looks pretty intact to me. There's no broken glass. Just, where they pulled the walls down, after they pulled the walls down with the bulldozers or dynamited them out, then the mental patients escaped. Oh, they have no control. And the mental patients, of course, they have to be naked and hysterical. Yeah. In reality, they're not going to go anywhere. Half of them aren't going to go away. They're not trying to get out. That's just all they know. I mean, they're going to huddle in for safety probably, but whatever.
Deputies lasso and tie them to trees.
What?
But the disaster...
They did what? I mean, that's like cruel. They lassoed them? Oh, this is the West, though. They like, yeah, they've gotten, and they like make the loop and they, with their, get over here, Barb, you gonna be my dog. And they lasso the naked, hysterical, escaped mental. Come on. Oh, these stories that crack me up.
But the disaster's ground zero was in the dense tenements area south.
Ground zero. This is it? Because the buildings in the background look unscathed, untouched. They're plumb. Just this mess in the front. That shite. Are they the people who built this, or the same people who built those other buildings? I don't think so. This is a
Market Street. On 6th Street, 4 cheap residence hotels have collapsed. 4 hotels with more than a...
What is that
several
place?
blocks of the same...
What is that? It is a message.
Several... Noticing it...
Escaped mental patients. Look, the earthquake affected the 3rd floor there, where they attach a cable and pull the back with the bulldozer. Yeah. But what is this place? You think anybody really... Look at that nonsense. Built that. Come on. The planks are right there in the front. Give me a break. Give me a break.
Into sewers. They did everything they could to fight that fire and defend the city of San Francisco.
At first, dynamite was used by desperate firefighters. Then the military took over. They used granulated dynamite.
Oh, sure. The firefighters were desperate and they used dynamite. Yeah, right. The firefighters did it first. The military didn't do it first. We didn't come here already planning with these big things of gunpowder, dynamite on our shoulders running. We didn't plan that. The local firefighters were desperate and they used it. They were desperate, so we just followed their lead. So you can blame them because we didn't think of it, and we saw them do that. And we thought, that's something we can do. Is the dynamite? Yeah.
Black powder, gun cotton, the most flammable substances known to humankind. By the afternoon of April 18th, the stream of refugees headed toward the ferry building and waterfront has become a desperate torrent. But help was on the way. Lieutenant Frederick Freeman, commander of the USS Preble.
Lieutenant Freeman, with his big honking patriarchal bloodline nose hanging out of in his Napoleonic look with all of his chevrons and buttons and stars and tassels it was majestically preparing to evacuate the Ukrainians from the human rights violations happening, because that's the good thing to do, because you can't stop it, so you just got to get the citizens out of the architecture.
Freeman, commander of the USS Preble, steamed toward the city from Mare Island on San Francisco Bay. The Navy would help the city's firefighters save the Southern Pacific Railroad yards. The victory was crucial. For the next 3 days,
So let's look at the railroads. Oh, so the Navy saved the railroads, but the railroad tracks weren't bent by the earthquake. Those trains weren't tossed. They were closer to the epicenter than others, but let's see.
On San Francisco Bay, the Navy would help the city's firefighters save the Southern Pacific Railroad yards. The victory was crucial. Over the next 3 days, the Southern Pacific would haul more than 200,000 refugees to safety.
What?
While the Navy...
What? How many? What? How did those tracks work? How did they do it? Oh, the earthquake left those tracks alone. Look at all the rubble around there. Oh, it shook. The buildings were shaken to the ground, those brick buildings. And the pipes were all broken up there. Broke, busted like an earthquake. But the train tracks are unscathed, untouched, pristine.
Refugees to safety. While the Navy worked furiously to aid the efforts of city firefighters, General Funston's demolition teams dynamited so many buildings it sounded like an artillery barrage.
There you go. The architecture.
That debris started hundreds of other fires, hastening the city's destruction. It was a war of opposites.
Wait.
Navy...
After the earthquake, he counted a dozen fires. Later that day, they counted 52 fires. Now, with the military rushing in like waiters with too many tables. They're running around, scrambling and scurrying with the most flammable substances known to man. Whatever that stuff is that magicians use to make fire out of their hands, like Michael Scott did it, like gun cotton and TNT and nitroglycerin and gunpowder. Barrels and barrels of it. They're blasting it. And then how many fires are started? Hundreds.
The city's destruction. It was a war of opposites. The Navy and firefighters finding success wherever they could supply enough water. The Army blasting and burning the city in order to save it. Near City Hall, the infamous ham and eggs fire was started by a woman attempting to cook breakfast on a stove whose chimney was cracked.
Wait. They're blaming the fires on a woman for cooking somebody breakfast? Was that the breakfast that other guy enjoyed? Oh, no. Don't blame the military with their gun cotton. Blame a woman. Blame a woman for cooking. Oh, boy. How did she cook the breakfast? They shut off the power. They shut off the gas. What was she doing? Was she using the gun cotton and gunpowder and dynamite and TNT and nitroglycerin and napalm and whatever else? Oh, boy.
Among the most badly damaged facilities were San Francisco's hospitals. Rescuers used the Mechanics Pavilion as a makeshift facility.
Oh, that's a nice display because nobody was injured because they evacuated everybody. Yeah. We have empty hospitals.
As fire approached the building, nurses and volunteers commandeered every available vehicle.
No, they had to destroy that building. See the windows? It's built for giants.
Volunteers commandeered every available vehicle and evacuated more than 300 people just as the building filled with smoke and...
Wait, who commandeered?
...vehicle. Nurses and volunteers commandeered every available vehicle.
Well, how could they commandeer them? They don't have the authority to do that. The people driving the vehicles have the same authority as those who would try to commandeer it. Whatever.
and evacuated more than 300 people just as the building filled with smoke and flames.
Well, because they
In
waited till they're
Chinatown,
gone.
An
before they-
escaped bull was running wild, goring and trampling people. A police officer shot and killed it. Chinese people who believed the world was held up by 4 bulls and that the earthquake was caused by the escaped one having left its post wailed and moaned that the world was doomed.
Oh, that's why they wailed and moaned. It wasn't because the military was coming in with guns. Oh, boy. Oh, let's move on.
Many of the members in the fire department had virtually no contact with their loved ones and their families. You can only imagine how that weighed heavily on their mind. Many of them worked day in.
Oh, yeah, I'm feel so sorry.
Worked day in, day out for 3 straight days without really any breaks. And that to me is a true hero.
The fires kept growing.
A true hero is one who is working on so little sleep and rest that they are going to make so many mistakes and be incoherent, and your IQ drops drastically when you go for 3 days without any sleep or break. Oh, come on.
Building by building, aided by the dynamiting. The fire created its own draft, the chimney effect, sucking air from 360 degrees.
Fire nail.
By early afternoon of April 18th, all of south of Market Street was in flames.
Just as they planned. Fake photo there, Tim. I'll show you the fake photos here as we go along. Look at these buildings. So they just gotta go, man. There's some guys up there planting dynamite, you know. We got that one down. That one's going good. Now let's work on this one next. Yeah. Oh, where's the earthquake damage here? Flags flying, yeah. Oh, where's the fire? Where's the earthquake? Nothing. Oh, here it's fine. Military's showing. There's the military. And there it goes. Look at the insides of these places. Pretty fantastic. They gotta go. Built for giants. Built for giants. It's too fantastic. It's old world. It's gotta go. Gotta go, go, go. It's gotta go right now. Look at the wires. They're gonna pull it. It's fantastic architecture from the old world, built for giants. Pull it. And built by the minor 49ers, by the pioneers, with granite and marble and 5-foot thick walls and all the millions of bricks they made. And
by late afternoon, with the fire eating through the financial district, dynamite teams hastened their disastrous efforts. On California Street, Army Lieutenant Martin Briggs and his team blew up a building that ignited another fire a block away.
Woohoo.
They started over a dozen more fires. People were being shot for any suspected infraction.
What are you looking at? Yeah, right.
It was J.B. Monaco, the city's first photography studios.
Oh, the only photographer. Let's hear what all the pictures of the city before the fire. What happened to those?
Well, my grandfather, J.B. Monaco.
One J.B. Monaco.
Photography studios.
He's not in on it.
Well, my grandfather, J.B. Monaco, was bitter to the day he died.
Sure.
At the fact that the federal troops would not let him into the studio to save the whole photographic history. It was not only a great personal loss, it certainly was an historic loss.
But
you have all the. Look, we'll make you a deal, buddy. You, J.B. Monaco, you're going to take every photograph of the architecture in this city, and nobody else can. You've got the monopoly. Trust us. You have all. Just keep all your originals here, and we'll pay you. Just keep hold of them, and one day you're going to be rich, boy. You're going to be a rich one. Trust us. Just don't. When nobody else going to take no photos of this architecture, just you, JB. Just you, JB. You got it, man. But one day we're going to come calling, and you're going to listen, because you're going to be my dog. You're going to get rich, but you're going to be my dog. That's how it works.
J.B. Monaco would produce some of the disaster's most memorable images.
So this is interesting, though, because on his way out, he does take some photos of how it really was. You don't see any earthquake damage. You see some areas of streets where they dynamited in tunnels and flooded certain parts, and they're dynamiting other, but you can see the buildings they hadn't yet gotten to. Fantastic old world architecture that was there long before the minor 49ers and the wide streets and the, oh, give me a break. It's all mud flooded and built for giants and all fantastic, all the stuff they're going to destroy. So he got some photos out. Because he was in on it, but not really in on it. You know what I mean? Like, he got suckered, probably. So, some of the photos he took, like this one, where's the earthquake damage? Oh, nowhere. No, there's no earthquake damage. There's dynamite damage, fire damage, and bulldozer damage.
Had lost his business, and an irreplaceable photographic history of San Francisco would soon have a victory.
There is the house that J.B. Monaco built in 1904.
It escaped the earthquake, because the earthquake ain't shit. The earthquake was just a tremor, boys. It's just a little tremor.
Natural well around the corner. They formed a bucket brigade from Francisco Street up to Leavenworth Street and fought the fire for roughly 18 hours. And
6 plus 6 plus 6 hours.
What is most remarkable to me about the photograph is how that one block stands out, how that one block was saved, and look at all of the destruction around it. It's an act.
Because that got bulldozed, boys. They bulldozed all that shite, and they just... JB, now listen, JB, you can't get all your photos. We had you take all those photos and nobody else could, and everything we promised you going to be rich. Just wait to sell them until 1907, we said. Now we're going to take them all and we're going to burn them, dynamite them, gone. Now don't you worry your pretty little head, JB, because your little block of where your house is, we're going to leave that one alone. It's going to be like, you say it's a miracle. It's a miracle. JB Monaco says it's a miracle. His block was saved. Saved by the miracles. And everything else got shaken by the earthquake. It broke the steel railings in half and crumbled the brick chimneys to the ground. But JB Monaco's block was unscathed, not a broken pane of glass. Ain't nothing broke anywheres.
Absolute miracle. Despite having lost the studio, he still had a home.
On fabled Telegraph Hill, Enrico Caruso, a talented sketch artist, calmly drew the fires below him. General Funston confirmed...
This kills me. I gotta play that again because it's unbelievable. Now, when I saw Ryan Johnson's sketches for the bombing Raid of Doom in his screenplay sketches for the making of the Star Wars atrocities, I thought I saw the worst drawings from a so-called highly paid talented artist ever. But this, I think, takes the cake. Let's watch it again. Listen up.
On fabled Telegraph Hill, Enrico Caruso, a talented sketch artist, calmly drew the fires below him. General Funston conferred with Mayor Eugene Schmidt.
Let's double check. Does this say? It says Enrico Caruso. 4. Does that say 16? It should be 16, but it looks like 6. 1906. Oh, I guess it would be 4. 4/16, 1906. Okay. Talented? What? Let's hear it again.
Telegraph Hill, Enrico.
The studio, he still had a home.
On fabled Telegraph Hill, Enrico Caruso, a talented sketch artist, calmly drew the fires below him. General Funston conferred...
What would it have been like if he didn't calmly draw the... And my gosh, what would it look like if he wasn't talented? You too. I mean...
Mayor Eugene Schmitz and convinced him...
Oh, now listen to this.
...artist calmly drew the fires below him. General Funston conferred with Mayor
That wasn't
Eugene
a fire.
Schmitz.
What's he talking about? That's not a fire. That's a horse, I think. I mean, it's hard to tell. The drawing's so artistic. I think it's a horse with a guy with a whip and a cart, and there's a fat man, and there's a guy in the back doing a Starbucks job on him or whatever it is from Idiocracy.
Below him. General Funston conferred with Mayor Eugene Schmitz and convinced him that the answer to the catastrophic use of dynamite was more dynamite. More dynamiting in an ever-widening arc around the entire core of the city. That night, the Hall of Justice succumbed to flames that had raced through the financial district and into Chinatown. Mayor Schmitz and his aides had moved to the Fairmont Hotel atop stately Nob Hill, which had been scheduled to open that very morning. Thousands of
it was all ready for them.
Too weary or frightened to compete with the throng.
Yeah, right.
Fools were feasting on the bodies.
Okay, so then here comes the information control. So people go out and they tell the truth. And so they had to put out their fake news and make the people telling the truthers of the time, seem like crazed nuts. So they put their agents in and then they ran the stories just like they do today. Like anything about geography and earth shape or whatever, the people that get out in the news and get the press and coverage are the ones who are planted or crazed lunatics telling tales of ridiculousness.
Ghouls were feasting.
Ghouls
were feasting on the bodies. Thieves were chewing off fingers and earlobes of the dead to get precious jewelry. California.
And only, they did that, but only after they made their signs that they wore, that said, "I am a junk thief, so am I," and one of them says, "I am a Jew," and the other one says, "I am a Christian fundamentalist," and and I'm a Republican, and I am a staunch heterosexual, and I am patriarchal. That'd be the modern version.
Thieves were chewing off fingers and earlobes of the dead to get precious jewelry. California had slid into the ocean.
They were chewing off the fingernails of the dead to get precious earrings. Wait, I don't know. Something like that.
18 hours. San Francisco.
Wait, is this a...
Ghouls were feasting.
Yeah, we saw that.
18 hours. San Francisco.
That looks real. That looks real. Oh, look. Oh, there's an injured earthquake survivor being cared for with some hygiene and some care of the sick. You can see it in the sign right there. See?
18 hours.
See, look. If you don't know what's going on, so look over here. First of all, they're patriotic. Second of all, they're doing some. What are you doing? I'm doing some hygiene. Is that it? No, we're doing more. What else are you doing? We are doing some care of the sick with a capital S. Can I show you how to make a G? Does the hook go down from the middle? No. It goes down from the right side, but that's all right. What else you got? Well, there's a tall lady popping a squat over here, and we got some fresh flowers. Fresh flowers because there was an earthquake disaster and we picked flowers. And we have people here and they're caring and we're doing some. There's a baby. The earthquake baby was born, and we got a picture of a nurse there so we can be inspired. And yes, all this stuff. Yep. For sure.
18 hours, San Francisco's southern rival delivered the first relief train, while Frederick Funston increased the dynamiting and damage with almost maniacal fervor. Another Funston worked with unerring calm. Ida Funston, the general's
with the same last name. Funston's a crazed... No, Funston's doing great work. Wow, the confusion. Blah, 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 blah. What are these? Civil War tents. Okay.
Attractive wife took charge of relief effort.
Who? What? Who's attractive? Let's listen.
Attractive.
Who's attractive?
General's stately, attractive wife took charge of relief efforts at the.
Stately and attractive. It's probably a man. Is this what stately and attractive? Stately, I guess maybe. That's a trash man dressed as a woman, folks. I think. I'm not sure. What do I know?
Wife took charge of relief efforts at the Presidio. A tent city was established, then a soup kitchen. The largest and...
Tent City. WGTU broadcasting with your viewer support and free Christian Science Scientology reading room for everybody. Dead bodies? No, it's for living. Every body. But we're only open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Then we're closed. You can get the hell out of here. Get off my lawn. Or hang up some underwear. That's our wares. They're Tent City.
Most functional medical facility was the Presidio's Letterman Hospital.
David
While
Letterman?
making her rounds, Ida Funston encountered the stricken fire chief.
And he went, put out the fire. What's he? I think he's saying something. What's he saying? Put out the fires. Oh shit!
Stanford
We didn't think about
Mansion,
that.
Whose enormous entry sported
Oh,
the
that's
12
gone.
signs of the zodiac in black marble,
Of course.
succumbed. Then
Black-
the Crocker and Huntington mansions.
Nah.
The massive Fairmont Hotel
Yeah.
caught
Succumb to
fire
what?
at
Succumb to what? How does a fire get there? What? But I'm
the
speechless.
Zodiac in black marble succumbed.
How?
Then the Crocker and Huntington mansions.
How?
The
Those are
massive
awesome.
Fairmont Hotel caught fire at 5:30
How?
a.m. on April 19th.
How?
In 15 minutes, the entire interior of the Fairmont, its high-ceilinged rooms...
Oh. Ooh, that's why. It's got those high ceilings for them giants, boys. We gotta get rid of it. Put some gun cotton in there. Get that gun cotton. Put that gun cotton in there. And them high ceilings gotta go. Get your orders. But I thought we have no hierarchy and no oversight. Brrr. Just do what you want, but if you don't do that, I'm gonna shoot you, boy. But put that gun cotton in there. We're gonna burn it in 15 minutes.
Its high-ceilinged rooms, thousands of pieces of expensive furniture, incinerated.
Mm-hmm.
Its exterior...
Look at all those.
from
What is this? Are those electrical wire conduits with switches and outlets? What the heck? They're not supposed to have all that in 1906. What the heck's going on around here? The steel girders and what burned? Like what's going on with the floor? Is that like dust? Look at the steel here. How does this happen, folks? What kind of fire did that? Why is that bent like that? And what's this post doing so straight? What's going on around here? There's some directed energy weapons going. Got some gun cotton and some dudes, some directed energy weapons.
its exterior, built from massive blocks of granite, was impervious. At the Presbyterian Mission on the edge of Chinatown, Donald D.
Wait, so if the massive blocks of granite are impervious, why weren't the bricks and other massive blocks of granite impervious? Oh, well, they don't react to microwave weapons.
block
Well, granite don't react to microwave weapons, boy.
granite was impervious. At the Presbyterian Mission on the edge of Chinatown, Donaldina Cameron, who had devoted her
All these stories. She devoted her life to earthquake victims.
troops at the Presidio were performing flawlessly under a strict chain of command.
Yeah?
In the city itself,
Wait. A strict chain of what? I thought there was no... Didn't you say earlier that there was no... Get your story straight, boy. Gotta get that story straight. That doesn't matter. After 5 minutes, hypnotized people watching, it's like, there is no conflict.
at the Presidio were performing flawlessly under a strict chain of command. In the city itself, there was a different story. Many other soldiers, National Guardsmen, and special police, exhausted, dehydrated, some inebriated, continued their carnage.
How can you be dehydrated and inebriated? Continued their what?
A storekeeper was bayoneted for charging 75 cents for bread. Another man...
How much for this bread? There'll be 75 cents. Skewered! Skizzle!
5 cents for bread. Another man was shot for refusing to join the fire line.
You're gonna join the fire line, and then you're gonna give me them purty lips. Oh, I don't think so. Because it's a different story here.
15-year-old military cadet helping to clear a saloon was shot by a drunken soldier as he exited. Funston's men had expanded their demolition efforts to include cannons and artillery.
What?
They blasted away at houses on the east side of Van Ness Avenue.
What? Let's hear it again, because I can't believe it.
Cannons and artillery. Funston's men had expanded their demolition efforts to include cannons and artillery. They blasted away at houses on the east side of Van Ness Avenue. But no one wanted to challenge General Funston's authority.
Why would they? And what's he talking to? Lurch from the Addams Family there on the left? What the hell? Who's the guy doing? Or is the guy on the right one of the Munchkins from The Wizard of Oz? I don't know what's going on anymore. They brought in, what, cannons? Cannons? Where did they get those? What? To do what? Because they already had the dynamite and the TNT and the nitroglycerin and the napalm and the gun cotton and the gunpowder and the gasoline and the Molotov cocktails and everything else. Like what?
At Funston's command post at Fort Mason, Captain Leverett Coleman proposed an audacious plan. Coleman wanted to dynamite a 50-foot trench half the length of Van Ness Avenue.
More dynamite. Okay.
Tons of explosives were already en route. At midday Thursday,
More,
April
we got
19th,
fire, more
with the city
explosives.
aflame for more than 30 hours, a welcome sight appeared at the mouth of the Golden Gate. 5 ships of the U.S. Navy's Pacific Squadron. Over the next 30 hours, sailors, Marines, and volunteers would join hundreds of firefighters in 2 crucial fights.
Yeah.
Most critical in the struggle was to save the waterfront, where thousands were seeking rescue by ferry, pleasure craft, rowboats, garbage scows.
The Ukrainians were evacuating from the undamaged by the earthquake shoreline. Not a window cracked, not a leaning wall, everything's plumb. But it's a different story where they're firing cannons. Oh my. The streets are clear because them bulldozers don't like to drive over bricks and things. Just where their horses are, that's where the bricks fly out. They attack the horses when they fall. See, the bricks fly down from maybe another street over or something just to get them horses at 5 a.m. Yeah. And here, this chimney, not a crack on it, but the top broke off where they wired in some dynamite, or they hit it with a cannon shot. Oh boy. Ridiculous.
All gone. Parts of Russian Hill and North Beach were
Yes, I mean, paradise. Welcome to paradise. Where that's controlled demolition, boys and girls.
all gone. Parts of Russian Hill and North Beach were gone.
Russia's
The
back.
greatest testimony to the insanity of the dynamite can be seen at the Viavi building on Van Ness and Green Street. The fire had already been extinguished in that area when soldiers blew it up with dynamite. And that started the Russian Hill fire,
Makes
which
sense.
burned over into North Beach and was one of the most catastrophic fires. People ran through the streets
Yeah.
of North Beach. It created firestorms. It burned
All
50
right.
square blocks that did not have to burn. It is the great testimony to the insanity of the dynamite.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All
A
right.
filthy and exhausting
All right. Okay, I ran out of video space. Amazing. So, no video, sorry, but I'll just play the audio the rest of the way.
drove up and down Van Ness Avenue in a horse-drawn carriage. He screamed orders at his men, some of them weeping and delirious from dehydration and exhaustion. Doctors and nurses went along the fire lines, injecting firefighters with strychnine, believing it was a stimulant,
What?
antibiotic, and painkiller.
What? They believed it was 3 things that it wasn't and didn't know that it was the one thing that it was? And they're trained doctors, plural? maybe one doctor would not know what strychnine is. Where did they get it from? Did they read the label? And they're going around and they're injecting who? The firefighters? Why? Oh, maybe they didn't like what they were seeing. I don't know. But it's a doctor. You gotta trust the doctor. The World Health Organization. I must pause and say that it is YouTube's policy that I'm required to adhere to and support whatever the World Health Organization wants and says, regardless of any thought, ethics, morality, experience, self-preservation instincts, or anything. And back then, the doctors, you can't fault them. They thought it was an antibiotic stimulant. They thought it would make you smile, and vitamins, and what did they think?
Believing it was a stimulant, antibiotic, and painkiller.
Oh, and a painkiller. Stimulant, pain. What is this? It's a painkiller. It's a stimulant, antibiotic. And strychnine. That's what it means.
Fighters rallied for one more fight.
Yeah.
For these men to keep going and going and going from one fire to the next.
They needed health injected into them by doctors.
Trying to make a difference.
That lady. Oh my. Let's keep moving on here. So there's this picture. It's just ridiculous. There's no damage from the earthquake in these pictures. I'm just scrolling through. No. And then when there is damage, it's like leveled. And it's always the same, the buildings,
And soldiers used a single working hydrant to fight the fires.
Oh, single one. Why was it working?
At 7:15 a.m., Saturday, April 21st.
Saturday. They took the weekend off.
3 days after the disaster struck.
3 days after the federal
burned
troops
itself out.
arrived. The federal troops left and the fire burned itself out. Wait. If it could burn itself out, why didn't they just let it do that before? But oh. Anyway, it's showing a panorama of all the destruction. All the streets are clear.
It had consumed 29,000 buildings.
What?
86%.
How were there that many? Okay, 29,000 buildings, yeah.
Percent of the city's standing structures.
86%. So what did they save? My gosh. After the earthquake, 53 seconds, there was a dozen fire. Oh my gosh. Goodness gracious. Heavens to Betsy. And they show this bogus panorama. Vanilla sky.
The official death toll would report 478 dead. A lie that would stand for every building on the waterfront.
A lot. So they're liars. So everything else they say is true, but that's a lie. Yeah.
Massive corruption charges. Schmitz would get off on a technicality, and several years later was elected to the Board of Supervisors.
Well, that makes sense. Next. I don't see anything wrong with that. Corruption or elected? Okay. All right. So now this photo is, I'll show you this one photo because it shows this photo of the post-earthquake, and there's the emotional story of the woman with the duper's delight, and she's holding her child in the foreground or whatever, and it is fake. And I'll show you why, because in the next photo, those were giants floating in the air. The buildings are all different sizes. They totally moved a mountain. The earthquake and fire must have moved a mountain, because all the streets are exactly laid out, exactly the same. Exactly. And the boats The boats back then were absolutely enormous compared to the boats today. And, they didn't have the bridge, right? Okay, well, they probably did. Who knows? But yeah, all the architecture and all these photos are just massive. So that's it. So you want to understand what's going on in the Ukraine? Well, you just look at this. That's all you need to see.